In 2006, we took the youth to Senegal along with several adults. There were 21 of us that traveled over there. We knew that we couldn't just leave it alone, but that we needed to take it to the next level. Our hearts had been stirred, and God just led us to Senegal.
We're partnering with an organization in Senegal called Mission Inter Senegal, or MIS as it's usually referred to.
Adopt a Village is a program from MIS.
It's where a team from the United States, let's say like our church for example, will come to Senegal and they commit to a village for 5 years.
Not to parent the village, not to bring Western ways or culture to the village, but to work alongside the village, to pray for the village, to pray for the needs of the village, and to help as they can with some of the physical needs of the village.
And they go and they make a relationship, they build relationships with the people in the village.
And we commit to visiting that village numerous times over the course of that relationship.
And so far 13 villages have been adopted. There are about 500 villages, so many, many more to be adopted.
One of the main goals, and really the main goal of MIS, is to plant indigenous churches in the villages of Senegal.
This is going to be a self-sustaining church in this village, and a church that will also send their own people out to other villages. That's the goal. It's an incredible program that God has just tremendously used and opened the doors for Christianity to enter to the Senegalese people in the villages in the bush.
Senegal is it's really a fascinating country, a fascinating place. You know, Islam is the predominant religion. It's close to 99% of people are of the Muslim faith. The people we are working with are the Serer people. They're part of a people group called the Serer. And when you get into the villages, you realize that they have this kind of folk religion, which is kind of an animistic spirit worship, which exists in most of the villages.
There's a very strong belief in spirits and demons, a lot mixed in with their Muslim faith.
And their people, even in spite of their spirit worship, they're very open, very hospitable. In fact, they're really overjoyed to have us in their village, and this openness translates into quite an openness in terms of the gospel.
The culture doesn't see the love from their God from the way they worship, and so bringing the love of Christ is significant. The idea of having a father in God is significant to them.
Jesus, Jesus, how I trust Him, how I've proved Him o'er and o'er. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust Him.
Senegalese people are a people built 100% on relationships. Everything is built around knowing each other, greeting each other properly. You could spend 5 minutes just greeting.
Over there they are people-oriented and not time-oriented, and they spend a lot of time just sitting.
We've been paired with a village, and the name of the village is Ngarjam. And in this village, in Ngarjam, we work with Pastor Dudu, who is a pastor of a already established church in a neighboring village to Ngarjam. Through the work of the local church planter of Pastor Dudu, there actually are some believers and some recent converts to Christ. So the village is this village, Ngarjam, is pretty far out there. It's a very rural village. It's pretty isolated, and
you will find in the village that the Western ways are not there. Obviously there's no power, no electricity, no water, no Most of these people haven't traveled more than maybe 5 miles from their home. We arrived at the village that evening. They were exceedingly gracious and hospitable to us. They were excited that we were there.
We were finally greeted by this group of Christians from a couple of the surrounding villages. They greeted us in the village and gave us a very warm reception. Some of the young Christian children, they had kind of formed a choir, and they were singing songs for us that they had prepared, worship songs and praise songs.
They stated their greeting toward us. They said they wished that we would not stay 2 days, but rather that we would stay a month.
And one of the coolest things that happened is, we talk about us adopting this village, but one of the things that happened for those of us that visit is the village actually adopts us. They have kind of this ceremony, for lack of a better term, where they adopt us as individuals, and they give us Serer names.
And so now I am Jumajuf. My name means wisdom. Matt became Jigajam, which means man of peace. Nathan became Kainak, which means shepherd, and that seemed appropriate. Our specific village of Ungarjam has stated some specific needs.
They voiced some of the needs for clean water.
The nearest water source is probably several miles away, so it's very difficult for them. They spend a lot of time just walking, getting water, and walking back just to survive.
The water that they bring back is contaminated, and they are definitely in need of a deep well rather than a shallow well.
They also mentioned about getting a health hut.
Someone from their village would be trained. It's a 2-year program to train somebody to meet some of the medical needs.
They spoke about maybe trying to acquire a mill machine or a grinder to help grind their millet.
The women in the village work incredibly hard as they have to grind their millet in this, these large bowls, basically with very long sticks that they pound the millet and grind it down.
Here's an amazing thing: is one of the first things the chief of Ngajam asked for was a church. He wants a physical church building, even though he himself is not a believer.
Those that are believers there, and there are about 31 believers currently, walk about 5 kilometers, 7 kilometers to Johin to attend church.
That may not be the most pressing need that the village has. It was encouraging to see that they see the need for that already, and even the non-Christians in the village were requesting a church for some of the Christians in the village, albeit a small group that it is.
During this next year, we'll be praying for the village. We'll be making the needs known in the church body.
One of the things we can also do is that we can help financially. We need to be praying about some of the physical needs of the village, and
we're probably going to be involved through the church body fundraising for some of these projects.
We need to weigh out what we are able to do and what each item that they've mentioned would involve financially.
We can decide as a church which of these needs we'd like to raise some funds for and to help sponsor as we move forward together as a church.
People in the congregation, if they feel led, they can come and come to these villages and develop a relationship.
That personal relationship that they build is really even more important than any of the physical needs we can meet, as important as those things are.
At one point, while I was standing there on the African plain, I just looked around and I thought, what have I done? My husband and I had intended to go into missions full-time when we first married. I thought, boy, we could have been here this entire time, and we missed it.
It's just an amazing thing to see Christ's church marching forward, to see the power of the preached gospel day after day, and to even in the most remote parts of this country of Senegal.
God is just clearly at work, bringing the villagers to Him, and it's exciting to be a very small part of that.
We want the focus to be on Jesus Christ. He's the one who gets the glory.
And I really do look forward to coming back to the village, to visiting our friends there, and to introducing the villagers to more of our friends here in the church, to maybe even to some of you.